Hey, it's Joe West from the West Barn with
Mike Shimshack.
We are glad to be here on a Sunday night. Not our usual schedule. Here we are. We have a very important person with us. We had to adjust our schedules to meet his.
You didn't have to.
His vigorous touring requirements.
Oh yeah, you know me. Just traveling the world on Mondays.
It's Mr. Mark Lettieri.
Hey guys, what's happening?
Welcome, my friend. Mark Lettieri is, of course, part of the three-time Grammy Award-winning band Snarky Puppy. He's also an incredible guitarist, composer, studio musician, and instructor. I've seen him all over doing great things. I've learned much from him very quickly. He's also in the Fearless Flyers, the Mark Lettieri Trio. Anything else of note?
I don't know.
It's what I love about you.
Popping up around all, just, hey, if you need me to do it, I'll do it.
Session work, right, Mark?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Well, yeah. I really did. I really love it that that you do, like, it's almost like you're like Steve Vai, where it's like, it's not unusual to see you playing with whoever, right? It's like people bring you in because you're such a palette of color that it's like you bring your artistry to what they're doing, and now it's like a collaboration rather than just a hired gun. So
cool, man.
Not a lot of people do that.
Well, it's I'm thankful I get to do as many different things as I get to do. I'll say that. Yeah. So yeah, it's been.
Well, before we get into
so far.
to all your goodness, and you're one of my favorite guitar players, and you're a great human,
man.
I want to remind people to please pause right now. Take the time, pause, and wherever you're listening, hit the subscribe and notification button. Also, share socially on your different pages, and let your friends know who you think will benefit from listening. We are a grassroots podcast growing from a grassroots way, and you would help us very much if you did that. All right. So without further ado, Mark Lettieri. I wanted to tell, I didn't tell Mike this story, but Mark and I met, we actually sat next to each other at the Grammys, but I didn't meet you there. So we sat next to each other in the Kodak Theater.
That's right.
And I knew of you guys because I was a fan of you guys, but I didn't know anybody yet in the band. So we actually met in person. This is my recollection, is we were both ceremoniously invited over to Chris Fantassel's house to watch them do a video shoot, right?
Okay.
So this is my recollection. You tell me if we've met before this. I don't think we have.
Well, go ahead, because I want to hear this.
You came, and Chris Fantassel from Rocket Pedals said, "Oh no, you're not going to be on camera." He said, "Ask me to come." He said, "Oh no, we want to actually be on camera." And then we spent the next 3 hours, me, you, and Sean Tubbs, on camera, shooting some.
That definitely happened.
Some video that I don't think ever came out, thankfully, because it was just.
Not
I know
yet.
we said a lot of things we probably would have regretted.
Well, the premise of it. Did you guys talk to Chris about this when you had him on the show?
No, we didn't. We didn't.
Okay. Well, because it was, we we pretended to. Well, you know about cigars, right? You're like a cigar guy, so we talked about that, and then we kind of talked about whiskey, and we drank more of it than we talked about it, and then we tried to play guitar and talk about our influences on guitar after doing all these, it's when Robin Ford does that thing, and it was we probably should not have tried to do that thing after the whiskey and the cigar.
I can remember that I went off on a rant about not liking Bob Dylan, which I would
No, you said you didn't like Jeff Beck.
Oh, I went on probably
was it
on
Jeff
both.
Beck or was it Bob?
I've famously gone on about Bob Dylan saying that I don't get it. I liked maybe a couple of his songs, but I think that he's over-exaggerated. But
that
Jeff Beck's another one, man. The Jeff Beck thing.
Sean and I both looked at you bro, just go home.
I have to imagine.
Cut him off. You're done.
I have to imagine
for that guy.
That Jeff Beck, that Nigel Tufnell's character was specifically designed to look like Jeff Beck, right?
I've heard that theory.
It has to.
Yeah. You'd have to ask You have to ask Christopher Guest or somebody.
Well, there's just there's artists that are fantastic artists that sometimes people aren't meant to get. And
totally okay. Yeah.
I saw. You know what else? And I'm a big fan of. It wasn't Wecco, I don't think. It might have been Caliuta. Who plays with Jeff Beck?
Caliuta's done a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so I saw this
with him.
they were playing in this English pub.
That's Caliuta.
It's Caliuta.
Is it on? I haven't
the girl
seen this.
Tao.
I'm not hip.
Is her name Tao? The bass player, really great bass player, and I was unimpressed with Caliuta, and I love Caliuta. I mean, I was just I thought that was a horrible show. I wish I liked it. I wish I liked it so bad because I want to be popular, but I didn't like it.
Wow. Yeah. That's all right, man.
Well, and I also did see you at the NAMM show. You invited me out to. You were playing a big auditorium there.
Yeah, that's right. You guys came to see the trio and some of the other homies play. That was a really fun night.
Fantastic.
Well, do you want to know the first time we did actually meet? Because it was at your barn.
Okay.
Because I came over with Chris, and I think maybe another gentleman, just because he wanted to show me the place.
Gotcha.
And I very distinctly remember, you gave me one of your guitars to play. It was like an acoustic or something. I just was kind of noodling around on it. And you said, well, he knows all of his $13 chords. And I've used that so many times now.
Oh, that's funny. But there was a guy in Pittsburgh named George Hyde who said to me once that that was a $13 word. Like when somebody would use a really great word, and I never forgot that.
Yeah.
Mikey was talking before you got on, and why don't you tell him what you're grateful for with Mark Lettieri?
Oh, man. So what I was saying to Joe was that I love. I mean, I've watched a bunch of your Fearless Flyers videos. I love the Joe Dart stuff. I love Nate Smith. I love that you guys are bringing musicality and real playing. There's a whole audience of young people watching you guys, man. That's like, we're in a computer age, right? Everybody's programming everything. To see guys get up there and like inspire a whole new generation of players to pick up guitars and real instruments. I'm an old guy. I love it, man. It's like so inspiring to me to watch,
Play real music.
Play real music, man. And play it really well. It's funky as could be.
Oh, thanks, man. It's kind of always, I haven't really known any other way to do it, really. I mean, I know technology fine and can program my way through a song if I need to or whatever, but just the way I learned the people I always grew up playing with, it was like it's all about the people in the room playing the instruments together and what happens with it. And that's, you find people that share that sentiment, and then you make records with them. And you're right that, I think every generation has people that are just hungry to check out how to excel at an instrument, like, I don't think that's ever going to go away.
I felt like it was about to. People were saying how guitar is not instant gratification because it's hard. You don't sound good for a lot of months on guitar.
Right, sure.
And people were talking about that, but I think maybe COVID helped. I think it's
well,
one of those
sales of
things.
acoustic guitars are up, I was told. Acoustic guitars and load boxes. Because guys and girls don't have any way to play their amps loud on stage anymore, so they just
soak them. Yeah,
the load box.
Well, it's really cool that there was an audience for it, because what you're doing is, it's intense, man. Like I watched, the Lingus video, the Snarky Puppy Lingus video, which we will link to in the description. It's one of the most insane performances. I've watched that video maybe 50 times, and I just played it for a friend over at his house. Mm-hmm. And I was remarking on Corey Henry's doing the right hand was blowing my mind. And then he goes down onto a weighted keyboard, and he's matching his right hand, flying so fast on his right hand that I can't even imagine on anyone's right hand. He's duplicating it with his left hand on a weighted controller. And I was just like, to watch the band in that, it reminds me of like, it felt more aware than like a Chick Corea. Like when I was a kid watching Chick Corea, it felt more like that band was one organism. And I don't even know how you rehearsed to get that kind of song together. It's like 10 minutes, right? That song.
It's not short.
And it was literally like it was an ecosystem. Everybody was like, they knew where the subdivisions were. And then the way they shot that video too, it was just like everybody's around with headphones and I don't know, man. It's one of the most incredible shoots and pieces of music I've heard. And all the Snarky Puppy stuff does that. So what is that?
Well, I don't know.
How do you plan for something like that?
You post this stuff, Mark? Are you
sorry, Mike?
composer in this as well?
I've written a tune, but I mostly write for my own projects. The songs largely in Snarky Puppy are written by the bass player, Michael League, and then some of the other guys have contributed some tracks as well. The cool thing about the band is that like anyone can contribute a song if they have something that they think will work, and so that's kind of how the tunes get brought in. But I think for going back to what I said earlier, everyone in that band has always just loved playing live with other people. And we knew kind of the strength, so to speak, of our live show, but we didn't necessarily want to make live records like in a venue. So, because we don't really, there's only so much control over the sound that you have in a theater, for example. But if we can do it in a recording studio that's big enough to hold all of us, plus an audience, we can get the feeling of having a live show, but with the quality of a studio recording. And so that's how those things kind of came about. And we did our first one actually in 2009. We did an album called Tell Your Friends, which was the first time we ever did the whole live in the studio with an audience thing. And it sort of became our MO. And I think it was how a lot of people picked up on us because we started putting things on YouTube, which was interesting because we did sort of blow up, so to speak, on YouTube, but we had been touring forever, before that. And so the fans who had just seen us in the clubs were like, oh yeah, duh, Snarky Puppy, But then when we started reaching just people on the internet, we knew it was kind of something that was really expanding. So
super special.
Yeah, it's a really unique situation. It's kind of like the band I always probably would have dreamed about being in when I was in high school, Yeah. Because I was a huge fan of Steely Dan and Herbie Hancock and Stevie Wonder and George Clinton and various other rock bands and things like that. And so getting in a band where I can improvise, I can play complicated stuff, I can play simple stuff, I can groove, I can not groove, I can do all these things.
I can not groove too.
All these things I've sort of been preparing for as a guitar player. Snarky Puppy's a pretty good outlet, I think, for everyone in the group.
You know what it reminds me of?
Individuality, yeah.
It reminds me of like the Beatles on the top of the studio performance.
Okay,
it reminds me of U2, where the streets have no names. Is that the video where they're?
Yeah, they're up on the roof and the police
it
shut them
reminds
down
me of all these kind of cool, like what was the record? The last record, and it was all done like it was all film shoot. It had to be oh, come on, Beatles' last record.
What was the Beatles' last record?
Let It Be.
Let It Be.
Yeah, and it was just, it's a different idea. Like everyone else would have been like, oh, we do our live records, we find a nice auditorium, find a good sound engineer, and we make a record. But it's like, it's almost like the new kids on the block that just show up, not the band, the new kids on the block, you guys being the new kids on the block, show up and it's like, oh, why don't we do this cool thing that's just this whole, it's a whole immersive experience. It's a film. It's a piece of music. It's a live record. Who knows what it is? It's just super cool and unseen before.
Well, we felt it was just the best way to, like I said, to kind of capture what we did. We had done 3 studio records before Tell Your Friends, but everyone knows the power of that band as a live band. So it's like, well, we might as well just do it live in a studio so it sounds good, and then we get the energy. And
and then cut to like the Fearless Flyers where you're like all in the gas station jumpsuits.
Right. Rothco flight suits, actually. I think they're the Rothco brand. Yeah.
Where does that come from? Like, it's like, oh, let's do it in flight suits.
Right. Well, and you might want to get one of those guys on the show, maybe Jack Stratton from Wolfpack, because he's sort of is kind of the mastermind of the aesthetic of that band. And if you're familiar with Wolf and how they do things, everything's very specific as far as the image and the aura of everything, which is awesome. I mean, it's like it's such a niche, unique thing that is theirs, and so of course it would transfer over to the Fearless Flyers. I did not know that was happening. Neither did Nate, really.
They bought a suit
Corey
in
and Joe
size.
were like, oh yeah, of course we're wearing flight suits. Nate and I were like, what? Like I'm gonna play guitar on a mic stand? Like, okay, But yeah, so we got the flight suits, we got the boots, and my boots still don't fit. I need to like get a if we keep playing gigs, I'm gonna need to get a pair that actually fits because those suckers are not comfortable.
Oh, so these suits are like not just for the video; they're for everything.
Well, I mean, we've only played 2 gigs, but yeah, I wear the same one, and then Corey takes them home and his wife washes them. It's amazing. I know.
That's
it's like
funny.
it's still very much a DIY, like, vibe. So.
How did Snarky Puppy come to be?
Well, there were about like maybe a core, I don't know how many, 6 guys, 7 guys maybe that were at the University of North Texas together. And Michael League, the bass player, had written some tunes and basically just got his buddies together to play them. And so they put together the band and started playing around Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that was like 2004, I guess, maybe when they started. And then I hooked up with them in 2008 just through the music scene. I was doing gigs with other members of the band. And so got pulled into the fold that way. And then the band just sort of expanded because we just always had more gigs than people that were able to do them.
Yeah. So is that why you'll see like there's 2 or 3 drummers listed? There's sort of any given night there might be a different lineup. It's a sports
team. Yeah, it's a baseball team or something, or hockey. We have like line changes, But it's cool because we record with everybody. So like if you check out the last record we did, Immigrants, or the one before that, Culture Vulture, there's like 15, 16 people in a studio playing all live, So that's great. It's a cool experience. Sorry, that's my daughter. I think they're fighting over enchiladas or something. But anyway, so then what was I going to say? But yeah, so live, it's cool because the band stays fresh. I mean, Michael does every gig, obviously. And there's a couple other guys that do 90% of them. And then guys like myself or the drummer or some of the keyboard players will swap in and out. It's cool because it keeps the music fresh, it keeps the guys fresh, and then it allows it allows me, for example, to go tour with my own band or play with the Flyers or do sessions or whatever the heck else,
How stressful is that for you to is there any insecurity as you're such a cool dude that, as great as you are, it's like I could see if it were me, I would have anxiety going to the rehearsals because these guys, and you're a monster player, but even at that level, the level of that music is so high that there's got to be like, man, am I going to be able to hang with this record?
It's funny. We always joke. It's like everyone feels like they're the shittiest member of the band. Even Michael, he's like, I'm not even the best bass player in the band. He'll say stuff like that, or what have you. So there's a lot of humility in that group, and we all, thankfully, and we all know that, no matter what the tune is, like some people are going to get it real fast, other people are going to not get it real fast, and we just figure it out to where everybody ends up sounding great on it. I mean, there's a lot of patience as long as everybody does their homework. Most of the No, we learn it all by ear. So, for example, like when we go to do a record, the demos will get passed out, beforehand. Guys will learn as much of it as they can of each tune, and then we'll get into the studio and kind of start hashing out parts, arranging things, and piecing the songs together before we start cutting them, I think probably like where the anxiety comes, especially for me, is like on the live situation because it's a high pressure kind of gig. The fans demand a certain amount of not screwing it up, and you don't want to, you're like you were saying, you're on stage with a bunch of killers and you don't want to be the weakest link. So, it's tough because with all the swapping in and out, I'm kind of constantly having to go back and revisit material. We did a tour, I think it was earlier last year, and I had just finished a tour with my band where my head was completely in like my solo stuff and that thing, and then like 2 weeks later I was like on the road with Snarky, which is like a kind of a different mindset, and I was like, oh man, I gotta like mentally kind of shift things, and it always takes me a couple gigs to kind of get my bearings, so to speak, but then it's like second nature after a while.
If I remember correctly, the last time you were in Nashville, you played the Ryman?
Where did we? They may have. I think the last time I played Nashville with the guys was what's that? Magnolia Motor Works. Is that
Oh,
a place?
Marathon music.
Marathon, Marathon Music Works, which was a super fun,
That's cool. That's
super fun rockin' venue. Yeah,
How many people fit in there?
a
couple thousand, probably
yeah, I would
2,
say,
3 maybe.
yeah, I'd say 2,000, something like that.
Yeah,
Wow, I've never been there. I've seen it.
I think it's just slightly smaller than that.
yeah.
What's that like? I mean, that's kind of the sweet spot. If I were to have a career, I would love to go around and play Ryman-sized venues, right? I mean, when you get to the sheds and the hockey rinks, well, then it's not even fun to be at those shows. I've been at those shows, and it's very clinical. But when you're playing those size venues, it still feels like old school, like almost famous rock band going around.
And sonically, it's great too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I think that's our sweet spot. I think as far as sound.
Yeah.
We played at Royal Albert Hall back in November, and which of course was just a majestic evening, But that's a big place, so it's like, yeah, you dial the reverb back on your guitar a little bit. Maybe don't use as much delay that night, So we'll play a venue like that, or we'll play a big open air outdoor festival, which is a whole other thing. But we play a lot of rooms in the UK that are owned by the O2 brand, and they're like, yeah, it's like 1,500 size, and like there you get kind of the power of like small stage, we're all sitting on top of each other like rocking, but then you get sort of the expanse of a nice rooms. I like rooms of that size, but I love playing small clubs too, man. Like 75 people cramming in there.
That's great too. It's like a comedian. You'll see like, a massive, like Chappelle will show up at some little place where his head's this far off the ceiling, It's,
right.
But the other thing about playing that size venue that's really cool is that it's like, it really means you've arrived. I mean, that's a real legacy. Like, you're a big band if you're going around playing just 1,000 to 2,000 people in a city. I mean, that's like, there's some pride to be taken in that, knowing when you show up,
I mean, we're very grateful for the people that let us do what we do, man. Because I mean, like you said, on paper, what we do should not work. According to the music business, what we do should not work.
Yeah.
So, if you've checked us out, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, man.
You know what else I really love about it? We were just talking with Harry Myrie, and Harry kind of defies all the odds when you look at what they tell you. He's a YouTube star, great drummer, but he's a YouTube star too. He's got a channel that's really rocking. But he arrived at his audience on YouTube by breaking all of the tutorial rules of how to grow a YouTube channel. And it's like, that's what you guys have done. Like, nobody set out on paper in 2004, and all the bands you're in, by the way, like the Fearless Flyers, your trio, like this is music that if you were going to go ahead and do the calculus on it, you're not going to have like Series 1 funding from venture capitalists, right?
Wait, they got VCs for bands now? Wait a minute, let me know.
You would never have it, but like, let's say to fund a label, that's money you would never get. And it's like, you guys found an audience, and the audience is undeniably loyal because it's all there because of the content.
Well, I think what we've noticed is that I think the audience was always there. And I think if the internet did one good thing for music, it just got it to people. I mean, whether or not, the financials aside, like it reaches everybody.
Right. No A&R guy had to sign off on it.
Yeah, you can just do your thing here at your house and put it on for everybody. And if you put out enough of it and it's good, or maybe it sucks, I don't know, but if you put out enough of it, someone's going to notice, and there's 7 billion people on the planet. Someone's going to like it. Probably.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like I make, my records are like instrumental guitar records. Like, that's not cool, quote unquote. But people dig it. Like, they check it out. They listen to it. They buy it. They go see the show. So it's like, I always thought about, like, there's got to be people like me around, who are going to dig what it is that we do. And so you just find those like-minded people,
I'll go one further and say that I admire people like you, because you do it because it's not like you're doing it because there's a bunch of people sniffing around some gold that's been reported up in the hills. You're like fly fishing in the Hudson River. I mean, it's like you're doing it for the love. You're committed to the art. You've done it. It doesn't necessarily make sense to set up your camp where you have, but you've done it. And I think people really admire guys for that, because, and you could see it on their faces. Those videos, the best part of those videos that I see where you have audiences in, like and when I say audiences, you'll see in the video when you click it below, but like they'll have them sitting with the band with headphones on all around them. Like, there's no separation between stage and audience. You look at their faces and they are like, they're just grateful. There's a shot of this one guy. I'm going to go back and freeze frame it. And I'll try to put it into this somehow. But you could just tell, I could tell this guy didn't know a thing about music, sitting there watching Snarky Puppy. Like, I may be judging, but like I felt like his music IQ was super non-existent.
Well,
like,
you know what?
Even know what he's getting.
Can I cut you off real quick? I think we as musicians tend to think that people that aren't musicians are dumb. And you know what I mean? And
I'm not saying that. I was saying that he was
I know you're
grateful.
not saying that.
I could see how grateful he was.
Okay,
it was
good.
The end of my point. I hate to get stopped where I got stopped because I sound like a monster.
No, I know it's your podcast. I'm sorry. But you know what I mean? It's like we as players, like we feel like we've achieved a certain level, and that, if you don't get it, then you don't get it or whatever.
Right.
But I think what it is, and I'm guilty of this myself, it's like, look, because I sometimes think, oh, my music's too weird or nobody cares about that. But everyone loves a great groove. Everyone loves a great melody, and everyone likes to have a good time watching other people have a good time.
People don't understand why it's great.
Doesn't matter what kind of music you
understand
grew
that
up
it is
on or-
great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That they know
That's what it is. The appreciation's there, whether they truly understand what it took to
They
get.
might, yeah. I mean, because we've played gigs, and it's like, somebody comes up to you who's clearly not a musician, clearly couldn't tell you the difference between Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton or Rihanna. Like, they have no idea. But they're like, wow, I've never heard sounds like that, but it made me feel a certain way. And I'm like, good. Buy an album.
People have an extraordinary like ability to sense something like magical.
Sure.
They may not be able to identify it. You can, even when you watch, I just watched a documentary on Pixar, and talk about having a run of hits when you watch all the Pixar hits. And I can remember taking my son, he's 15 now, but during the growth of Pixar, we were at the movies every weekend watching Pixar movies. And Kim and I would be like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. And going to like big blockbusters that you were waiting on and being disappointed, like, the new Top Gun or whatever would come out, and you'd just be kind of like, that wasn't as great as I thought it'd be. But you'd go to these like, Wall-E, or every movie was just like extraordinary. And I was that guy. I was the uneducated musician. My animation IQ was really low. But what I did walk away from those movies knowing was that it was something that was really special, and I just got to witness it. So I don't know what that is, but music is packed full of it, and you guys have got it.
Oh, thanks, man.
You guys sell, in your trio and Snarky Puppy and Trios Flyers, do you guys sell a lot of merch?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a lot is, but it's definitely like I
feel like you guys are making music that people show up and they appreciate and they want to support when they see something great. I've talked to other artists about this. Like, make something great, and people will show up and they will show support by buying. Obviously the most obvious thing is buying your record or buying.
Well, I have noticed that, and a lot of people. I actually my group did a gig last night here, sort of like a socially distanced, half live stream, half live audience kind of thing gig, and people said, hey, I've already downloaded these, but let me just get them anyway. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, you know what? People do care. And so,
they could have just bought it and not told you they stole it from you.
Maybe they did. Maybe they stream it. I don't know what they do.
Yeah, they probably did.
They bought it last night.
I could get that. In the old days, people used to come up after like a songwriter show, and they'd have like some bootleg copy, on burned CD of a band that you're in, right?
Right.
And they'd be like, hey, would you sign my... And it's like, sure, you sign it, but
well,
you're just like
the thing.
the audacity of people.
Well, a lot of times I think now, because most people maybe download stuff, but if they get a picture with they get a CD that you signed with a message, like that's a cool memory kind of keepsake thing that sort of translates. I give them a guitar pick, whatever else, some old strings or something.
Yeah.
That translates kind of beyond the music.
Dude, what do you attribute your particular sense of funk to? It's like you are just you're one of the funkiest dudes.
Well, I don't know if you should meet more funky dudes.
No, dude, come on, don't undersell yourself.
Well, look, man, I mean, I'm a product of my influences, which is countless great rhythm guitar players.
Man. Rock
guys like Eddie, funk guys like Prince and Ray Parker and Paul Jackson Jr. and, the guys that live in between like Lukather and Carlton and, heck, even James Hetfield. I mean, I got most of my palm muting ability from trying to play Metallica and Megadeth songs when I was a kid, or like chunking on Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde Drop D stuff, which like kind of translated into funk in sort of a weird bass backwards way.
With that, yeah.
I think I try to approach everything from some kind of a rhythmic sensibility.
Yeah, you're very rhythmic.
The melody kind of come second. Well, not really second, but
you're
I
a
don't
great
disregard
soloist.
it. I should say that. Well,
you're an incredible
thanks.
soloist, but it's like when you pick up a Strat, single coil pickup, and you start to play, it is like it takes a rhythm section. Like I'm there immediately. It's like all the in-betweens. I can't explain it, but it's like it's all of the in-betweens that get you moving.
Well, and I'm very grateful that I've been able to kind of be mentored by some rhythm section players that are just, out of this world. Like I got lucky in that I live in an area where the drummers are some of the best in the world. The bass players are some of the best in the world. The keyboard players, there's some incredible guitar players here too. It's like everyone in Dallas, it's kind of a pocket town in a sense. Texas in general is like a pocket state. It's like,
you get together with any of the North Texas kids like that are going to school there and stuff?
Every now and then, yeah. Like I'll see them at jams and stuff like that. I mean, it's interesting because I'm not a straight ahead player really at all, and a lot of them are very much the modern jazz straight ahead kind of path. But a lot of them will come to me if they want a lesson on R&B guitar, for example, or groove playing or something like that. So, yeah, I've worked with a couple of them. What's that?
Breed some good drummers there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
And all this kind of stuff.
I mean, so
and you don't really have a sound that's like derivative. Like when I listen to you, I'm like, oh yeah, it feels like Stevie Ray Vaughan meets. Like you've got your own thing.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. Maybe, and I probably never will.
Dude, you've got some great chords, killer chords.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. $13 for each.
if not more.
That was a great compliment. Thank you for that. I liked that one. That was good.
Well, I'm sure that when a guitar player picks up my guitar and starts playing chords that I'm like, oh, I don't even know what that is, and I'm looking at his hands. That's a
what
bad
guitar
sign.
was that? Was that a old Gibson? I feel like it may have been.
I've got an old Gibson.
Okay, it was a Dreadnought.
No, it was a J200.
Oh, okay.
Old 50s
right.
J200.
Yeah, well, whatever it was killing. So yeah, man.
Baritone guitars. What is the deal with you and baritone guitars?
Yeah.
It's like you're like the one guy. It's like keeping them alive, right?
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe Dan Electro's stock rose a little bit or something, but probably not. I don't know. That was something that I stumbled on. I'd used them on sessions. I'd used them with Snarky Puppy, but it was more of like a textural context or a rock context or something. But the idea to kind of play groove music on them was something that just kind of was a happy accident. And then I all of a sudden it became this somewhat of an alter ego for me to write these baritone funk, as I call them, baritone groove based records. I'm working on the second one right now, which essentially is going to amount to a bunch of stuff that I don't have no idea how I'm going to play live.
How many baritone guitars do you own?
I have 4. There is Actually, they're over here. There's Dan Electro, the 56 reissue. The one that you probably see me the most is this white and black one by a builder in Italy named Bruno Bacci. Corey Wong got me introduced to him. Corey's got one as well, and so I had one made, and it's like a telly on steroids, like a detuned telly, basically is what it is. Which tellies are so funky anyway, so why not just have a baritone version of it? There's a Supro short scale baritone, which has 3 single coils, so it's kind of has more of a Strat sound. And then this latest edition is this crazy one called a Big Six by this company called Hybrid Guitars, which Charlie Hunter is a part of. I don't know if you know Charlie Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
He does the whole
beat string
one-man band. Exactly. So that's a company that he's a part of. So it's a fanned fret bass 6 essentially. So it's tuned down a full octave.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm always plumbing the depths.
So a regular baritone guitar is tuned down how far?
Well, most of them come B to B.
So it's just an extra string. It's like
no,
a 7-string guitar?
No, it's a 6-string. It's just down a 4th.
Yeah, okay, but when you say B, it's like
the
B
low
on
the 6th low, the low 6.
Like those old metal guitar players would add the extra string would have a low B string. So I'm wondering, so was it?
Yeah.
So is it tuned the same way? B.
It's tuned just like a guitar, you just down a 4th.
Got it.
So all the chord shapes are the same, just lower. And then but I tune to A, so I go a 5th down.
What's your second string?
Well, if it's A, then it's D. Like second from the bottom or the top?
Yeah, if the bottom's a B, what's your second string?
E.
Okay, so in my mind, like if you remember like those old Steve Vai guitars where they would have a low string.
So the 7-string.
It would be a B string usually. So it's sort of tuned the equivalent to one of those guitars, right?
Kind of. No.
Okay.
Okay. Here. So here's a 7. So this is B, and then E, A, D, G, B, E.
Right.
So you just get the low B again. But in a baritone, if we're in B, well, it's in the case. But this one is tuned to A. But anyway, we'll just pretend it's B. So this is B, E, what is it? Is it A?
Yeah.
Yeah, B, E, A,
D, G,
D, I think it's F sharp.
F sharp. So it's not tuned the same as.
Wait a minute.
I'm confused.
I'm trying to transpose in my head because this is an A. But so if I play an E chord, that's an A.
Gotcha.
But at the so
it's
if we're just
relative. It's all tuned the same relative. It's
relative, just down a 5th. Sorry, my evening transposition mental skills are a little lagging.
Dude, these are the worst kind of conversations for me. Like this one goes to 11, where it's like this abstract reasoning.
Like A, C. So
I just end up going, right on.
Right. People can just Google it.
Are you playing Supro amps? I see a Supro behind you there.
There is a Supro there. Yeah, I do from time to time. They make a rig called the Statesman, which I use every now and then. It's like a 50-watt head cab.
Those new
scenario.
Supros are sounding.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
great.
I'm always playing different stuff on the amp vibe.
Yeah, and you can see all the pedals on your rack back there. It's like you must.
A bit of a problem. This room is a mess. I mean, it's just a mess.
Do a lot of things go on and off of your pedal board, or is it like pretty stable?
I mean, the bottom row has been pretty stable. The top row changes around a lot, kind of depending on what I'm feeling or what the gig I need to do.
What lives on your top row, like processing or compressors?
So let's see. The top row is like overdrives, fuzz, weird stuff. The J Rocket stuff is generally always there. I'm pretty hard and firm on my overdrive choices. I usually play J Rocket stuff. But then, I'll throw in an octave pedal up there or an octave fuzz or an envelope filter or something, maybe some modulation, chorus, vibrato, whatever. The bottom row is all the time-based effects, and that generally has stayed the same for a while. Like I use a Hall of Fame reverb, a TC Nova delay, and a MXR carbon copy. And those have been there forever. And then this Line 6 M5, which I don't even think they make anymore.
I have the M9.
Yeah, they're cool. So I haven't upgraded to the Helix Elon Musk edition or whatever the hell it is yet.
Yeah. You
I
can
just
do a
use the
mod
regular
on those, right? That supposedly drastically improve the input and output.
Yeah, it sounds better, and it makes the switching a whole lot more convenient. So I had that done. So, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Of course, now it's probably broke now that I said that. So,
My M9 is in my son's room.
Okay.
All my gear is slowly like migrating like caribou from my studio up into my son's room.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah, he's
probably
been
has quite a
playing
collection at this point.
non-stop.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he just took all my pedals up, which are a lot of rocket pedals and a lot of just all of my pedals. So I probably don't have as much as you, but they're all scattered about, half under the bed. And
Yeah, I feel you, man.
yeah. So how about your kids? Are they old enough to be playing, or?
Well, I have the one daughter. She's 3. So no, but
no baritone for her.
No, but she definitely has an ear for music, and she's really into dance right now. We just got her started in her little ballet class, and so she's like super into that. So she comes in here all the time, wanting to touch stuff, and I let her. At this point, I don't even care. At first I was like, oh, don't let the toddler touch the guitar, but I was like, they need to know how. They need that tactile experience, and like if I whack it, it does this thing, and I let her carry the guitar by the whammy bar. I don't give a shit. Like it's like whatever.
Speaking of
we'll
guitars,
see
it's
what she
like
wants to do.
I know you're playing a lot of single coil stuff that's like really like extraordinarily like kind of your sound, but it's like I know you've got to deal with PRS, I believe, right? And
I work with them a little bit, yeah.
What's your choice for like humbuckers and?
Well, lately it's been these guitars here. So that Collings I-35, and then the 2 PRSs behind it do 100% of the humbucker work that I do. There's a Les Paul there, which is a fine guitar, but the 2 PRSs sort of replaced that.
And why is that? Is it that the neck is just faster and easier and more intonated?
Well, the PRSs stay in tune a little better, because they sort of fixed the whole neck angle thing that now, I mean, a Les Paul, I'm not bagging on Les Pauls. I think for me, what drew me to those particular PRSs, the 594s, was that I was able to get just a little bit more sparkle out of the sound, which I think is inherent in my fingers, that in a lot of cases maybe got a little lost when I played Les Pauls. Those PRSs can be funky. Like, I feel like I get a little bit more of that spang-a-lang.
Okay, yeah, you wouldn't be able to get on a Les Paul.
Well, some players can. I'm not saying that it is not a funky guitar. It's just from the way the sound is in
It is
here.
definitely not a noted funky guitar.
Well, you never know. Who knows?
Who's a good example of like a funky dude that would play a Les Paul?
I'm sure there's probably some Les Pauls on a lot of those old records that we just didn't know.
It could be, but it's just that doesn't come to mind when you're talking about.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they are. It's sort of in the eye of, or in the hands, really. I guess what you would consider to be funky. But
what about the 335? I see. Is that a 335?
Yeah, so that thing's insane. Yeah, it's a Collings I-35,
right?
Which is nice because again, it's a little bit tighter than a full 335. So I get that kind of Lettieri spank that's in there that I
those are supposed to be absolutely spectacular guitar.
Oh, Collings makes incredible instruments, man.
What's the pickups in that?
Those are Lawlers.
Right.
I don't remember the low-wind Imperials, I think.
And they come with Lawlers, right?
Yes. And then PRS makes their own pickups, and PRS makes fantastic pickups. So it's,
what about
it's
Tellys? Or Tellys do anything for you?
They do actually a lot. I should probably play them more, shouldn't I? I have a Nash Telly that I use a whole bunch. The two that killer guitars. The two I use the most are my Nash Telly, and then there's a one here by a builder. Well, I think he's an English guy, but he lives in Italy. His name is Michael Cooling, and he has a company that makes nice Fender style guitars, and so I have one of his Tellys, and so I use that quite a bit. But the thing is, my favorite sound on a Telly is the middle position. And so on all of my Strats, I have that mod done so that I can get that sound.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of like my thing.
What is the mod?
You just either put a switch or a push-pull that just engages the bridge and neck. Anybody can do it.
Your middle position is not just the middle pickup then?
Well, it is. So,
it is.
So let me give you an example. Okay, so here's a half Grosh guitar, half Fender Stratocaster body. This knob here, you just pull it up. If you're in positions 5 and 1, it'll engage the neck and the bridge. Yeah, so the middle stays the same. And then what's kind of neat is that in positions 2 and 4, you get all 3, but it's like kind of like only part of this coil, I think, or something. I'm still trying to remember what the hell the difference is between.
Is it like a split coil for the back on that?
Yeah, so then this one and the bottom tone will split the humbucker. So I have that electronics set up on
How much of that are you doing like during a show?
A lot.
Really? Because that kind of blows me away. Like with all of when you look at like all the ups and downs, and I get the positions.
Well, it
but
depends.
It's like,
I mean, but no, I really am. I think I just love, like, for example, I love how Michael Landau will like play the neck pickup, hit a bend, and at the top of the bend, flick to the another coil. It just does so much to the sound. So I'm always screwing around with that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I'm still refining like which knob needs to do what. Is it in the way of my hand? Should it be a switch? Should it be a knob? Like I'm always kind of tweaking. What's
your desert island guitar? What's the one?
Oh man, I don't know if I have one at this point. I mean, I think I would probably try to rescue all of these. I mean, well,
there's only room for one.
Right, man. I don't know.
Sophie's choice.
Yeah, this blue Grosh guitar that I've played a bunch has a lot of sentimental value. But the one that I just showed you, I've had since I was 16. So,
oh wow,
it's kind of.
What about old Jaguars or like more exotic Fenders?
I don't know. They don't sound like me.
I get it.
But I get it, man. Like I feel like those are the offset stuff is something I just don't really have in my collection. I've never gravitated towards Jazzmasters. I've never gravitated towards like big body Gretches with Bigsby's or anything like that. Never really been into SGs. So, yeah. I don't know.
You got to be a shitty player to get into SGs like me. Man, I know there's a lot of masters that play them. So
I owned one for 2 weeks, and I could not get
instant
past
fun
it
for
would do this every time I would put it on my knee. It's like the neck wanted to just live on the floor.
That's true. That's true. But those are like that. Those are the guitars that like songwriters can grab. And there are legends that play them that just play the Jesus out of them. I'm saying like you can't sound good quick on an SG if if you've got a little bit of history of knowing songs from the 70s. That's
gotcha. Yeah,
they're great party guitars.
They're awesome. They sound rad too. It's something about the way it's built. I feel like I'm having to play it over here.
Yeah.
Rather than here.
Well, it's also like those gold tone banjos, the banjitars or the.
Oh yeah.
What do they call them?
Banjos.
They call them ganjos.
No, you talking about the 6-string ones?
Yeah, they do call them ganjos, but the gold tones actually call them banjitars.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Banjitars. In mine, every time I have it, it's like.
Well, yeah. How do you put it on your leg?
It's like you can't just sit there and play the thing. It's like you're continually like you're arm wrestling this thing
up. It's like playing a flying V sitting down. Like who the hell does that?
Well, at least you have the V to go like the V into one leg.
Yeah, but then you look like a weirdo.
And then you're playing it like a classical guy, that's in a metal band.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. And the other thing about a lot of those instruments, it's like I have a really great U.S. custom Strat that I have had over at a friend's house for like a year.
Cool.
I just don't play well enough to like play revealing, beautiful single coil sounds. Like I get the sense that like, yeah, I can power chord on my demos through the songwriter stuff, but like to get a guy like you or the people that you can't be around these people and then attempt to play anything outside of your pay grade. It's like I'm just going to leave all the stuff that actually is neutral and the transparent stuff that reveals the technique and touch. I'm going to leave that all to guys that I really love having come in. And my Strat is another embarrassing instrument that I own.
Do you find that like humbuckers are maybe like more forgiving?
Oh, don't you think?
I kind of do. Yeah.
100%.
That's weird, right?
Oh, well, I mean, it's even more
Why is
forgiving
that?
the louder you turn it up.
Can somebody quantify that scientifically? Like,
I think it's
why single
nuanced.
coil
The
sounds
tone.
make you feel like you're playing without your pants?
I think that a single coil pickup is it's more of a transient sort of revealing natural sound. It's more
Yeah.
truer to the actual instrument than a what are we talking double coil pickup.
Yeah,
My brain just had summarily forgotten what double coil pickups were. Yeah, man, and as soon as you put a little bit of gain on it, everything gets sustained and mushy, and
Yeah,
all of a
sure.
sudden, all the garbage playing turns into like, oh, that's vibe. That dude's just really vibing out right now.
Yeah, man, I feel you. But yeah, desert island guitar, man. I don't know. I don't know if I could pick one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You just got to go to a desert island full of guitars.
you know what? I should just go to a desert island and then be like, oh, which one should I have brought? Like, which one am I thinking about the most?
What do you bring on the road with you?
Let's see. Usually I've done a couple tours. Well, I've done a million with that Blue Garage. Done a couple with that brown one. Done a few with one of these Ibanez AZs, which are real fun guitars, kind of like a modern super strat kind of vibe. I'll bring the PRSs out a lot. Usually I'll bring like a humbucker PRS and then something of a strat variety.
So you
Depending
keep it
on the
light.
thing. I do, yeah. If it's a trio or a quartet, my thing, then I might just bring like two strats, like one is a main, one is a backup. On the Snarky thing, I'll bring a strat and then something with humbuckers. Every now and then I'll bring a telly out on the road. I probably should do that more. I don't know. They're such a cool sounding guitar, man.
Well, when you're on tour, like in Europe especially, it's like you have to travel kind of light, right?
Definitely. Oh man,
It's not the same.
Most of the time, like if I'm leading my thing with the trio, it's just us, instruments and suitcases, and everything's backlined, and we're not even, we're going on trains. We don't have a van or anything like that. It's just like, where we hop like a easy jet flight across the channel and then go to the gig. It's
Are you
very
getting all
lightweight.
backline gigs, like for amps and stuff?
Yeah, so the kind of the neat thing about Europe is that that's just kind of part of the deal. Like you play a club, there's backline. Like these clubs have backline, or it's part of the situation where they just know that they hire in stuff. Like it's all kind of worked into the system there, and that's for like an indie solo artist group like us. Like that's not some rock star stuff. It's like they do it for whoever's coming in, which is kind of cool, And most of the time we get what we need to get,
Huh. And you're not taking Kemper out; it's all pedals.
Yeah. I use a tube amp live every time. I don't do I'll do a Kemper like if there has to be no amps on stage or something.
And do they give you a guarantee that you're going to have like something like a Fender Champ there, or Matchless, or Bogner?
I mean, yeah. So I'll send
getting?
them. I'll send them kind of the rider, and like they just do what they can according to that. And I keep it pretty simple. Like I'm not like I need a hand wired, Dumble
Santana.
that was
Dumble. Yeah.
that Santana used to own or whatever. Like I don't no.
You ever show up and it's just like a PV head? Like
No. I mean, I'm trying to think. There's definitely been some like unpleasant vibes there, but it's never like totally like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? But heck, dude, I'll use it. Like I don't care. Like whatever.
That's confident.
I think most of the time I get like a Fender Twin. It's fine.
Yeah.
Great amp. I turn it up to like 4 or 5 and party balls.
Yeah.
And so there's that. I think my bass player probably gets more upset about backline than I do. So he brings his own head.
Oh wow,
he has
that's
one
got to
of
be
those-
tough.
Well,
Going
he
through
has
Europe
like
on trains.
it's the super lightweight Galen Kruger, maybe I think, that he puts in his gig bag.
Like a solid
And
state
he really
thing.
and he really likes the way it sounds, because he likes a lot of power. And sometimes we play these jazz clubs, and it's like it's an amp for like an upright bass, and he's just like, guys, You know, so if they can get him a cabinet, he just brings his head or something like that.
So do you ever have the issue where it's like you get somebody who loves you and they're Snarky Puppy fans, and then they come out to Fearless Flyers show, or they come out to a trio and they're like, oh, this isn't Snarky Puppy?
No, thankfully that has not happened. I think at this point people know what they're going to get, you know.
Because they're different.
More or less. Very different. And the way that all those bands are structured, Fearless Flyers and Snarky Puppy, is that, you know, there is plenty of room given and attention given to the individuals in those bands, so that fans, it's very clear if a fan is like, I want to see so-and-so's solo project. Like, they know about it, they can find it. And the band as a whole, both bands, really everybody I play with, is very good about kind of sharing the wealth and the success, and or whatever you want to call it, but just kind of like spreading it all out. Like, look, if we're all out there crushing it, it's just going to be better for everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't, you know, it's like Snarky Puppy has never been like Mike League and those other guys. You know, it's like everybody, for example. So they know what they're going to get if they buy a Lettieri ticket.
Yeah.
You're going to get their faces melted.
Well, dude, you've got it. You should really be
Gently.
You should be really proud. People, you've got a name that is synonymous with like something special.
Thanks, man.
You built that too, and that didn't come easy. You didn't take the short roads or the easy pathways towards success. Are you if folks want to get a hold of you, to either do you do remote recording at your place, or do you do you know, internet file transfer stuff and you can play guitars and something
all the
you're
time.
into?
That's actually what I've been busy with the most during the whole, you know, shutdown, whatever you want to call it. Is
so if folks want to get a hold of you and maybe have you play on their record,
just go to marklettieri.com and click contact.
Okay, awesome. And
man.
Anything else you want to plug? I know you got some things going with like different instructional videos out there.
So a big thing that I'm real proud of is my jam play course. I did a course with the jam play / well, now they're part of True Fire, but it's the Mark Lettieri Master Course. And because I don't really have time in the schedule to always take Skype students, I generally put people onto that, and there's just a whole wealth of stuff in there that sort of encompasses my sound. So if you're interested in learning from me, you can go there. I have a bunch of stuff on a website called SoundSlice, which is more transcription based on my solo material and even my Instagram videos, which, you know, people like to transcribe and learn and play along to and stuff. So, but yeah, my website has pretty much everything that I do. If you just want to browse around there, or my Facebook page, or if you just want to,
we'll put links to all your socials, but we'll feature your actual URL.
That's cool. Yeah, that or Instagram. I'm on Instagram a lot.
Okay, we'll put them all on there.
Cool. Thanks.
Well, dude, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, guys, it's my
on
pleasure,
a Sunday night.
For sure.
You're our first nighttime podcast.
Oh, well, maybe we've started a trend.
Maybe.
Now, or you guys are like, never again. We're going to stick to Mondays.
No, dude, thank you so much. Like I said, I'm a huge
Joe.
fan of yours, even before I met you.
man.
And after I met you, it's been nothing but up from there. So
I appreciate that.
thank you for being a
This
great
is cool.
dude.
Absolutely, guys.
And hopefully we'll see you soon. I just saw on the news here, it's Sunday, and at 5:30 there was a press conference where they said there's a great new treatment. They announced some treatment for coronavirus that's supposed to reduce mortality rates by 35%.
Okay.
So
good news.
I hope it is what they say it is. I hope that it's we could all use a break.
Yep, definitely.
Let us know when you're in Nashville next.
Well, did you guys know about the Woodshed guitar experience? Have you heard about that? It's outside of Nashville, in Lake Francis. It's this big thing that Andy Wood has put on, with myself, Andy Wood, Andy Timmons, Greg Koch, Joe Bonamassa, and Brent Mason.
Oh, wow.
And it's like a super guitar clinic hang vibe. So I don't know when this podcast will air, but
Next week.
Okay, well, it's coming up this weekend. So
What's the date?
the 27th to the 30th, I think.
Yeah, I think this will be out before then. I'll make sure that we make note of it.
Okay.
27th.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's even some tickets left if people are just like, oh, crap, drive out there. I didn't know
Okay,
this was
can you
happening.
just send me a link to that, and I'll make sure
Yes.
it gets down into the description as well?
WoodshedGuitarExperience.com, I think. But yeah, I'll text it to you.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you for coming on, man. You're a great, dude.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all.
Mike, it was
Thank
good
you.
to meet you, man.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
dude.
for listening and hanging out with us. We're signing off from the West Barn.